Hello and welcome to Star Citizen. My name is Evenlease, and today on 10 Minutes More or Less ship review on the road to Invictus, I have the starter ship behind me, the C8X Pisces. Let's go ahead and take a look at this ship. Starting off with this ship, before I lose all the sunlight and the current location that I'm at, let's talk about the price. So, for the C8X Pisces, it is a $60 game pack if you were to buy it as a new player, or a $45 standalone ship if you were to buy it on the Pledge store as a standalone, obviously. And then, if you were to just buy it in-game, it is $515,970 over at Area 18. Now, this ship is technically, they call it a starter ship, but I call it a shuttle ship because it's the ANVIL Pisces, which was made specifically for the ANVIL C8X, as the C8X has a hangar door on the top of the ship where you can land this thing and take off, and it is primarily made for that. But you know what? It can also be used as a starter ship, so why not? Man, I am really losing sunlight quicker than I thought I would be. Getting into it while I can. The ship has 236 DPS, and that's not too good. Not too good at all. It has two size 1 CF 117 Bulldog laser repeaters here at the front, and two size 1 FL11 laser cannons. You'll be wondering, oh, why is it so low on the DPS? Well, it's because it has a very low capacitor for every one of these guns. So you're not outputting much before you have to wait and recharge them, which recharging doesn't take long, but still, it's still a pain in the butt. Now, you also have two size 1 Marksman 1 missiles, one under each little winglet area here, and then compared to other starter ships like the Cutter at 296 DPS, the Titan at 1,858 DPS, the Aurora at 242 DPS, the 100i at 450 DPS, the Sulin at 393 DPS, and the Mustang Alpha at 368 DPS. This ship is the lowest out of any of them, and that is just too bad. DPS wise, it's going to be a lose there. That's not good. Obviously, you want to be able to protect yourself, and you do have 4 guns, so it's not like you can't, but it's just obvious that, you might want to change out these weapons for something that outputs just a little bit more on the damage side. Now, outside of the damage you do, what about the damage you can take? It has 1,500 shield, and it's a bubble shield, which, again, what that means is when you get attacked, it's going to take from the entirety of the shield and not just a certain face. So that shield will drop really quick. Now, compared to other ships, the Cutter has 1,500, the Titan has 3,000, the Aurora 3,000, the 100i has 1,500, and the Sulin has 3,000. And I've lost all sunlight. So I'm going to go ahead and cut really quick and find a little bit of sun so we can continue this review. Okay, so we're continuing the review, but from the hangar of Seraphim Station in plain white flight suit as well, just because, well, I was flying around. I went to Shubin to land and, continue the recording, and guess what? I found an invisible object or wall, and boom! So I'm going to have to go back and get my stuff here in a moment. But you know what? Let's just continue while we're at it. Last, we were talking about the shield. Now let's talk about the health points of this ship. It is 6,250. Now, compared to other ships, the Cutter is at 17,100, the Titan at 11,900, the Aurora at 5,740, the 100i at 3,900, the Sulin at 11,740, and the Mustang Alpha at 8,731. Now, health point wise, it is one of the lower ones available. Not the lowest, thankfully, but one of the lower ones. And that's just never a good thing to have that little of health, right? Because you have to worry about, having already a lower shield. And then once you lose that shield, you're going to just be knocked out of the sky pretty quick. But thankfully, and this is where the Pisces kind of, has a bit of a good time, is it's very thin. It's a very thin ship. It's got a very small profile. It's a very small profile. That's why I'm surprised by the hangar I got here, built for something much larger. But it's a very small profile ship, and so it's really hard to hit, especially since, it's not slow per se, but it's also not fast. And we'll get into that here in a second. But then you ask, how much can this ship carry, right? Well, you're like, oh God, this ship is so tiny. Can it actually carry much? It can carry 4 SCU of cargo, which is, pretty good. That's about your average for a starter ship. The other ships, the Cutter carries 4. The Titan carries 8, which is fantastic. The Aurora carries 3. The 100i carries 2. And the Sulin carries 6. And the Mustang Alpha also carries 4. So, you know what? 4 isn't terrible. It could be a lot worse, coughing at 100i. So, yeah, 4 isn't bad. For a starter ship, you're not going to be doing massive cargo runs with this ship, right? But it is enough to actually start doing some cargo carrying, so that's good to know. Outside of that, now we talk about the speed of the ship before we go in and talk about everything else. Your SCM speed at the top is 220. Forward boost is a top of 460. Your backwards boost is a top of 300. Now remember, that's just in SCM gun mode, so you have to be very careful as you're not really that fast. Compared to other starter ships, SCM speed wise, the Cutter is 180, which is the worst out of all of them, which is pretty sad. The Titan's at 260, the Aurora at 225, the 100i at 260, and the Sulin at 225, as well as the Mustang at 225. So again, it's not the worst. Well, actually, it's not the worst, but it's pretty darn close, right? It's very slow. So in regards of how fast that is, I mean, 220 isn't dreadfully slow, but it's still a very easy target to hit. Now, if you jump into nav mode, again, it's on the slower end. Surprisingly, you have a top speed in nav of 1,150. All the other ships in the starter lineup typically are at 1,200 or higher. So very, very interesting. You have to be very wary of that when you're flying this ship. And that's just the case for it. It's honestly a shuttle for the Carrack more than a starter ship, in my opinion. But it can be definitely used as a starter ship. The $60 price point for a starter pack seems a bit high, though, for what you get. Now, you also get 742 quantum fuel, so that's not bad. It's better than some others. The Cutter sits at 1,960. The C8X, obviously, I just said 742. The Titan, 612, which is terrible. The Aurora at 671. The 100i at 805. The Sulin at 2,900. And the Mustang Alpha at 671. So you're not at the bottom of the barrel again, which is great. It allows you to jump a little bit further and, not have to refuel one less time, right? Now, you're going to change out your jump drive. You're going to be able to go further and do much more once you do so. But at this point, it's still a pretty small tank, so you got to be wary of that. Now, outside of that, we're going to go into the inside of the... Outside of that, we're going to go into the inside. This ship has buttons, right? Operational buttons and stuff for like your doors and everything, but there is no components pass. So you don't have access to any of your components. You can't open any of these doors. There is no weapons rack. And you'd be surprised. There's no weapons rack. And there's no bed, there's no kitchen, there's no nothing. So you think of a starter ship, a lot of the starter ships, or most starter ships, have some sort of interior space for a bed or, a weapons rack or the potential to have one. This ship doesn't have any of that. You do have your internal storage, obviously. All you do is when you're in your ship, you press I, you'll have your storage here. Bingo, bango, you're good to go. Throw something in your ship. But outside of that, it's just room for some cargo, walking space. You got 2 jump seats, so a good little ship if you want to go down to a bunker with a couple friends. Just be careful with your shield strength and your health pool, right? Getting into the cockpit seat here, I'm going to go ahead and turn this thing on and take a look at the amount of MFDs you have. Surprisingly, you do have quite a few of them. You only have 48 decoys and 5 noise, so defensive, again, be careful. But you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 MFDs. That's pretty impressive for what this ship really can't do. Honestly, if I were to give this ship a review score compared to other starters in the lineup, this ship is going to get a 4 out of 10. And I know that seems harsh, but there's many reasons behind that score. While it is a great low profile ship for running bunkers, it's more of a shuttle than it is a starter ship. It's just your DPS is the bottom of the barrel. You have not that much shield strength. Your health pool is low. It carries your average amount of cargo at 4. The speed is, hit and miss. The quantum fuel tank is above average, which is great. But in the end, this is a shuttlecraft. I don't see it as a starter ship too much. And I really honestly feel like I wouldn't get this as my starter pack. But it is a pretty little ship, right? It is, it's cute. So let's go ahead and open this door up here really quick, and I will, let me go ahead and close this. But yeah, that would be the C8X Pisces Expedition starter pack. That's closed. If you lift off and raise your gear, it actually opens up the wings too, so it looks even cooler. Woo, out of here. So I'm gonna go and get my gear and move on to the next review. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you out there in the verse. I hope you have a great Invictus starting tomorrow. Thanks again. You all are awesome. See you next time.